mentioned across the district throughout these past couple of weeks. If I can have our board come out and stand on this side of the table, please, so we can give our veterans a certificate as well as a commemorative coin to show our appreciation, not only for your service for our country, but for your service to our community and certainly your service to our school district. You can come this way. Yeah, it's fine if it's. Okay, if we could start with Mr. John Robinson, former U.S. Army. Mr. David Fredrickson, former U.S. Navy. Lloyd Davis, former U.S. Navy. Mr. David Moore, former U.S. Army. Dana Besson, former U.S. Navy. Paul Clover, former U.S. Army. William Brown, former U.S. Marine Corps. Go back that way. Larry Begin, former U.S. Marine Corps. Dave Sisson, former U.S. Army. The man who needs no introduction, Mr. Joe Salvia, former U.S. Army National Guard. Miss Bonnie Welbom, former U.S. Army. Thank you. Thank you so much. If we can give them all one more round of applause, thank you for their service. And before our board takes their seat, we do have one other special veteran recognition for our very own Huron Valley School Board trustee, Mr. Jacob Dimmick. Right, those aren't handed out easily there, so you're okay. Thank you again, and we appreciate again for your service. We know what you have done, what you have served, what you have given to us to remain free. So once again, thank you so much. If we can get a group picture of our board, if we can ask the color guard to return to the area. Yeah, if you guys want to go over there, that would be great. Thank you.
Well, we'll have to take a vote on that. I do want, Joe, if you could just stay for a moment. I think it was very appropriate at the end. It just said thank you. I think those are the most powerful words that I can express on behalf of the board. Thank you for all the service that you have provided over the years to protect our country, the sacrifices that you've given to our country and for each and every one of us. I think at the same time, these dedicated individuals, when we call on you, you are always here. And seeing the video that was so well done really shows the dedication that not only our staff has, but our students. Our students recognize the service that you've provided. One of the areas that we always talk about is citizenship. And citizenship is by recognizing the dedication that all of you have displayed and the sacrifices that you've given, and for our young people to recognize that. And I will tell you that today, the presentation that was given in the schools that participate, this is not something that just happens. It's really truly comes from the heart, and it's really something that doesn't occur overnight, and it does not occur, unfortunately, throughout our country. And I think that's really what makes our school district a very special place, is for our students to recognize that. So I do want to say thank you on behalf of all of us.
One of our goals was to get away from Veterans Day being one day. We are creating Veterans Month, so that many people around the country have more time to honor the veterans that work for them, that live in the communities. One day does not do it justice. So thank you for allowing us the privilege of expanding that whole program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now go to your other meeting. All right. Joe left. If you would like to be dismissed, you may be dismissed also.
Well, we're gonna wait for your break. You gotta take down the flag.
Okay, all right, all right. Well, that's great, because I know next on our agenda, I believe, is Oak Valley. And they would love to have your attendance at that presentation. So with that, Dr. Salah.
Thank you, and I'll invite, I know we have several folks from Oak Valley here. I'll invite the proud principal, Miss Sarah Fraza, to the podium, and she can introduce her team and everyone she has here.
All right, well, that was definitely a difficult presentation to follow. And this is my first time doing this, so I'm gonna do the best I can. I've got a great team in the corner. So when presented with the idea of sharing something about Oak Valley to the board and to our community, something that we've been working really hard on this year is our English language population. We've had an increase in students, an increase in service hours, and so it's taken a lot of our time and effort, and we've seen some great results. So we wanted to share a little bit about that life with you guys. Okay, so currently at Oak Valley alone, we have 31 students that are designated English language learners. We have Spanish, Arabic, Chinese, Mandarin, and Ukrainian languages all represented. And they span all of our 3 grades, so we have a population in each grade. And we even have 7 newcomers to our country and in our school. A little bit about service hours as we're talking about EL. We kind of wanted to give everybody a little bit of information, but all of that's based on WIDA scores, which is a standardized test on listening, speaking, reading, and writing English. Students are assessed each year, and newcomers, when they come in, they get assessed as well, resulting in service hours from anywhere 1 to 4.5 per kiddo. Looking at Oak Valley in the past, 3 years back, we had 45.5 hours. We had a 0.6 teacher, 2 paras, 4 days a week. That went down a little bit, 22 to 23. Just increased a bit, 23 to 24 with 39 hours and 19 students. That's just last year. And already this school year, we have 60 hours worth of time service hours, and that's already increasing because we have 2 kiddos that are being evaluated right now, 31 students, and we've increased our teacher to 0.6, and we have our para 5 days a week. I'm gonna let my team here introduce themselves and kind of explore some of these pieces of the EL program with you. So come on up. Or is Brisa gonna do this part? Yes. Brisa. right here. You're talking about the newcomer protocol? I'll stand next to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm Beth Ginsbach, the Oak Valley EL teacher, and this is my dear friend and partner in crime, Brisa Alisario, our para. She was going to talk about the newcomer protocol. Jump in when you feel necessary. When it's necessary. So when we get newcomers, which happens all the time, which again, we have 7 current ones. We've welcomed 3 just this year. But when we do have a newcomer, you can see on the slide, there's a lot of things that we hit the ground running with. Technology, staff member to shadow if available. Usually that lately has not been so much a possibility. So what we do is we lean on our buddies over there in the corner. My EL friends, we get a buddy to shadow the new student, have someone that's at the bus stop with them. Of course, then we meet with the counselor and the administration to come up with a good plan, a good schedule that aligns with the support that's already in place between myself and Brisa in classes and Buddy in the class. Make sure the teachers know that the student is coming and their background, because as I like to say, someone said one time, if you've met one EL student, you've met one EL student, because they come with a vast array of experiences, culture, abilities, skills, amazingness. But we want to make sure that our staff and everyone else in the building knows about that they're coming. We prepare binders with all the important information translated, reach out to parents, make sure they have everything that they need. We usually supply backpacks, all those things. We do have an amazing program at Oak Valley, the Community Closet. So there's all kinds of, would you like to talk about the Community Closet?
The community closet is like, well, like, there's like a lot of things. There's toothpaste, toothbrushes, clothes, if they need shoes, that's provided for them. A lot of clothes for sure. What else is there?
Oh, just that kind, those
That's
kinds
it,
of
right?
things. So
Yeah.
we make sure that the students know that that is available to them, and they can ask either of us.
Or anyone.
Or anyone.
Yeah, anyone, yeah.
That if they need something, they can go to the closet. And we also have an amazing translator community here in Huron Valley, and they have a WhatsApp group run by our fantastic Kathy Longcore and others. And so we make sure that new parent, if they're Spanish speaking, is invited to the WhatsApp group so they get all the information related to schools, because typically these newcomer parents don't speak English, and so they're always announcing everything that happens in our school on the WhatsApp page. Okay, so our class. I have been teaching this sheltered ELA class at Oak Valley for 5 years. This year in particular, it's mostly for our newcomers, and we have the 7 newcomers in my class, as well as 2 or 3 other students who are just a little bit lower on that WIDA score, so that they get the support that they need. An interesting fact about the sheltered ELA class that I don't think a lot of people realize is that it's their ELA credit. It's not a foundations, it's not essentials, it's not on top of ELA, it is their actual credit. So it's not a newcomer class, although it kind of is, but at the same time, we're teaching them how to write essays and what a transition word is and what theme is and how to write a proper paragraph. We work a lot on that. So I've created quite a curriculum over the past 5 years to address these specific needs. We do a lot of translation between myself and Brisa to help them understand the content while teaching them English along the way. We do a lot of listening, speaking, reading, and writing, because those are the things that they really need. They don't typically speak out in other classes, so in our class it's a small environment and they get the chance to really express themselves, ask questions about literally anything, because they don't know a lot sometimes what's going on in the school, and I always have an agenda of things going on. One thing I love to do, and Miss Dodd can speak to it, I like to have members of the community come into the classroom, and I call them mystery guests. And so the students have to ask questions, take notes, determine what try to guess what their occupation is, and then we write thank you notes. So if anyone like to plug your ears, guys, If anyone would like to be a mystery guest in my class, that would be amazing. I would welcome it, so. Oh, okay.
Our EL kiddos are general ed students first, so just like any other student at our school, they get to participate in a variety of activities. It's great that we're able to kind of cluster our electives so that they can participate in whatever is most interesting to them. We have kiddos in band, art, gym, whatever their interest is, they can do that with their same age peers. We have Beth in some co-taught classes so that they're out in the general ed class, but still with that support. And then Brisa also going to a variety of classes, lunch with their same age peers. We try to make sure that they're as included as possible, which really helps with their language accusation as well. All right, and I'm gonna invite some of our Oak Valley students to come on up, and they've been dreading this, but I really wanted to make sure that you guys got a chance to meet a few of them. They work so hard, probably harder than anybody else at the school because they're doing so many things at the same time. So I wanted them to come here and just kind of introduce themselves and then maybe share a little bit about why they love Oak Valley, what helps them learn, and they're gonna do the very best they can. All right, guys, who wants to go first? You're gonna introduce yourselves?
Wait, I have to say my name first?
Yes.
Okay.
Oldest first, apparently.
I'm not oldest. My name is Christian Palmer Godoy, and what I like most about this school is how they have this program in the first place, which shows like they really care about us and make sure that we know like they help us during assignments. If we are struggling, they make sure to break down the question so we can like get 100 on it and stuff like that.
Hello, I am Yami Letanares Luzano, an 8th grader, and also I am considered a little buddy for an 8th grader newcomer called Miguel. And the ways that we feel included in our school is we have a little community of kids that speak our language, so we don't forget where we come from as students, since culture is very important to us, and we built a very nice community. We could have conversations in our own language without feeling excluded from our other peers who don't speak the same language as us.
Hello, my name is Romelia Kayaks. I'm an 8th grader. What I like the most about the school is that even though I'm not technically part of the program anymore, they still include me in things about the program. Like right now, I have a buddy, which is Sophia, and I still help her. And I like this buddy system because now I get to meet someone that also speaks my language, and we can become friends.
Do you want to add on something? Chris has a little bit more to say.
I also like when there's newcomers because wait, never mind.
What do you do? You do help with them. Could you say
This isn't
how,
a test, you're okay.
how do you help with the newcomers? I
Wait.
talked about that.
Wait, I need to think.
What do you do? Help them in their class, walk around.
I make sure they know where their classes are because as a 6th grader, I also did not know where my classes were, and since they're coming into the school year far and not like the rest of us, they don't know anything about the school, and I make sure that they know what's going on in class. And since they're behind, I make sure to give them all the details that we already learned about.
I have a bit of add-on too. I also have a bit of add-on. As one of the buddies, I get to take kids out of class and help them in their core classes, which is social studies, maths, and sciences. Currently, I've been helping other students around 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade with their core classes because everyone deserves a chance of education. Mostly with countries such in the South America area is less educated than ours, and shouldn't we have the same right to have an education? And we also have like technology, tablets, Chromebooks to help them learn English, adding another top of education, bilingual, which can make more opportunities in your work or areas of expertise.
She doesn't want to, okay. So thank you so much for just kind of peeking into Oak Valley, seeing what our school year has been about, and some of our wonderful students here working so hard. Does the board have any questions for any of our students or staff?
Does anybody have any questions or comments? Jacob?
I just wanted to say that you guys were extremely well spoken, and I'm thoroughly impressed with the system you have in place, especially the buddy system. I can remember back to being a younger boy and showing up at a place as a new student, especially in the middle of a school year, is daunting enough. And then if you don't speak the language, that would be obviously much more difficult. So you guys are doing a huge service. So thank you for that.
Amy?
I just wanted to say well done. I know it's very difficult to get up and speak in front of all of these people. You did an exceptional job. I guess my only question is, I am just overwhelmed by the work that you do with English language learners. It boggles my mind to think that you could have multiple languages coming in and have to teach at all these different levels. How much does technology play a role for you? Obviously, you have one para. I don't know how many languages you speak personally. How does all that work?
So I'm fortunate enough to speak Spanish by accident. It wasn't a job requirement, but I fit in very well because most of our students mostly speak Spanish. However, we do get other languages, and so technology, iPads have become really useful because with the increase in numbers of kids and the support stays the same, the iPads really help. We teach them right away. That's part of the buddy system, and what Brisa helps with, of course, amazingly, is how to use an iPad. They can take pictures, they can speak that way, and we try to share with staff all the different ways to use those things as well, because Brisa and I are only Brisa and I. She's right here. And my buddies. She wants to say something.
So Google is honestly so amazing because when I'm not there, I can't be there to translate for them. So Google is amazing because they have this tool where they can translate the document and then they read it and then they're like, oh, okay, I know what to do. So I just love Google and they love it too.
And what do you do with teachers in Google?
Teachers on Google?
And Google, do you show them how to?
Oh, yes. Teachers also. Oh, yes. Our teachers our staff is so amazing. Guys. You're doing good. Okay. Our staff is so amazing. I'm honestly so grateful for them because obviously I'm not there all the time and I wish I was, but I can't always be there. So they sometimes just translate the docs for them and make it accessible for them to enter, to read the stuff. Even like science textbooks as well. Like our science teacher is amazing. He makes sure they have the Spanish textbook, and I just appreciate them so much for that because our students really do appreciate that. So technology is amazing. Like I just love having it all the time for them. Yeah.
You've got it. Okay.
I gotta add more.
Wrap it all up for us.
Thank you. Anyways, there's also, in the end of the period, which is 30 minutes, all students, we have our own seminar, which is Marshall's class, and we use that to help other students to complete their missing assignments and work. I sometimes get pulled out of 6th hour to help other students complete those missing assignments and works, because why would I let anyone fall behind if they are the same as me?
Very, very true. Any other comments from the board? Thank you for being here. All right, number one. Number two, what a happy group. What a happy group. Here you are, 7 o'clock at a Board of Education meeting, and all I see is smiles, I see hugs, I see students that are supportive. I see students that are very appreciative. At the same time, you've talked about all the things that you've learned. Quite frankly, we are very blessed to have you here because we learned so much from you. So I just want to say thank you. At the same time, I know you've invited to have mystery guests. So I know that this is a small representation, and I know Dr. Salah raised his hand, and I know other board members would like to be the mystery guest. So you guys are kind of in the circle of trust here, that if we show up, we're still a mystery to you. All right? So you're in that circle of trust. So thank you very much for spending some time with us this evening. Thank you for us being part of your lives, and thank you for being part of Oak Valley. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Now, what we're going to do in just a moment, we're going to go to a recess. And at that point in time, you can stay if you'd like, or you can leave if you'd like. But if it's all right with the board, I'd like to make one small change to the agenda. Before Dr. Salah speaks, I'd like to have student leadership speak, and then at that point in time, we can recess. So I'm going to turn that over to our secretary, Ms. Pastana, and maybe you could introduce our student leader.
Sure, be happy to. So tonight we have Leanna Yen. She's from the IA West, and she's going to tell us what's going on there. She's part of our teaching, learning, technology group, student group, and they always have good information for us. Thanks, Leanna.
Hi, I'm Leanna Yen. Thank you for having me here tonight. I am the International Academy West representative, and everything's been really good at the International Academy. We've started revamping some of our programs and our events that we have at our school. For example, as part of the Peer Corps committee, we redid our enrollment night to include more prospective student interactiveness during our enrollment nights. Our first enrollment night of 2024-2025 school year was last week, Thursday, I believe. And we had a lot of new students come in, and their parents and their families is really nice. One thing that we changed this year, we had a panel of students, volunteers, that answered questions and kind of did like a little panel for us, and it was really nice. We got a lot of good questions and hopefully a lot of new students for next year.
Any questions? I think one of the things that people automatically assume that Huron Valley only has two high schools, Milford High School and Lakeland High School. I always correct them, and I know the rest of us always do, that we actually have four high schools. We have the IA West, we have Milford High School, we have Lakeland High School, and we have Harbor High. Once again, very unusual for a school district to have four high schools, but I think it really brings home the point that we provide programming that's appropriate for all students. So, just a little piece of information. Huron Valley schools have four high schools, not two, but four.
Yeah.
And we're very proud of the IA West, and thank you very much for not only coming tonight, but also being part of our teaching, learning, technology, because you, along with the rest of the other three high schools, provide information to us so that we can be a better school district.
Of course.
So thank you very much.
Yeah, we're a small school, but we really like being included in like Lakeland and Milford and the bigger schools, because then we feel like we have a voice and we're not just like a small community.
That's correct. Yep. And you're housed over at Lakeland, and IA West is part of the International Baccalaureate program that we provide throughout Oakland County, and we're identified as one of the top high schools in the state of Michigan and throughout our country. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And with that, we're going to go on a 5-minute recess. So once again, as I said to our Oak Valley students, you can stay, or this is a time for you to leave if you'd like. So we're going to take a 5-minute recess. All right, thank you for allowing me to move the agenda around a little bit. Next, we'll go back and catch up with superintendent's communication.
Thank you, President Wiseman. I have a few things this evening. First and foremost, I have a couple of recognitions that I want to share. Both Lori Lowe and Stacy Sattler received the MSBO, which is the Michigan School Business Officials Voluntary Certification Program, and they've earned a Human Resource Specialist certification. Just really proud of both Lori and Stacy. There's a tremendous amount of work outside of work hours that goes into taking certification classes and really just honing in their craft as HR specialists. And so we're very fortunate as a school district to have people who are committed to the work that we do. And I know how passionate both Lori and Stacy are about the work they do. They have a wonderful team. They've got each other's backs, and they do a lot of really great work on behalf of the staff in the district. So congratulations, Lori. Congratulations, Stacy. And Jeanette, please just share my congratulations to both of them. Second item, we haven't had a meeting since the November election. I did want to just take a moment. I wanted to thank all four candidates that ran. I did have an opportunity not only to speak with our two incumbents, Ms. Cotter and Ms. Dodd. I did speak with Ms. Puska as well as Ms. Germetti. And there's a lot of work that goes into running for a school board position. And not only is there a lot of work that goes into running for a school board position, but there's a lot of work that goes into being a school board member. So I just congratulate all four candidates on their efforts. I applaud their efforts to want to be a part of this community and invest in their time, their energy, and their passion into our students. And to Ms. Cotter and Ms. Dodd, congratulations to both of you. I look forward to continuing to work with you as board members, and I know that we're going to continue to do really, really good things on behalf of the students within Huron Valley. And for Ms. Puska and Ms. Germetti, there are plenty of volunteer opportunities. So if there are other things you'd like to stay involved with as far as the school district is concerned, I'm sure we can find some opportunities for you as well. And then finally, I just wanted to share an update regarding our progress on the redistricting process that we have been following, really, which began over a year ago, almost a year ago at this point. I think right around this time last year, we had a town hall meeting where we were talking about some of the recommendations of the Strategic Plan 2.0 committee and where we felt those recommendations were landing prior to taking the final recommendations to our Board of Education in December of 2023 to ask for action and then direction. And so back in November, we said that the game plan was to consolidate middle schools, to move the administrative offices over to Milford High School, and to move the adult transition program or community rec and ed program, as well as Harbor High School and our adult education program over to Oak Valley. And that as a part of that, we would have eight elementary schools, 4 feeding one middle, feeding one high school on the east and west side of the district. And so after hundreds and hundreds of hours and a lot of time since last November, December to today, we are getting very close to finalizing the details on the redistricting. And so as has been our custom and as has been our process, we've communicated every step along the way. At our last board meeting, we heard a board presentation from Mr. Tavernier, just a reminder of the history, where we've been, what we're doing, where we're heading. And I plan to give just sort of a quick update at each meeting up until we release the boundaries. So if you wouldn't mind, our technology team in the back, if you wouldn't mind pulling up our website here for a moment, So what you're looking at here is our redistricting webpage. This is located on our homepage of our website under the tab redistricting. And this is going to be the warehouse for all updates and information regarding the redistricting final outcome. So what you'll see on here, it does not have the boundaries at this point because we're still finalizing details. There's a lot of data cleaning that we still have to do to make certain that we have it 100% accurate. But what you'll see on this website right now is a letter from me, a short introductory video, which is up at the top. If you scroll down a little, you can see that. And then, yep, if you see my eyes closed there. And then if you look on my right, as I'm looking at the screen in front of me, there's a frequently asked questions tab. And if you were to click on that tab, there are several frequently asked questions that we've received since last November to today. We've populated that document, and we will continue to add to that FAQ. As has been our process, if you have any questions, please email us at communications@hvs.org, and we will either respond to those questions, or if it seems to be a theme or we're receiving multiple questions along the same vein, we'll add that question to the FAQ. The board presentation that we did at the last board meeting is located under the hyperlink presentations. And then the 23 through 28 tab there for strategic plan will take you to our website and where there's a plethora of information regarding strategic plan 1.0, strategic plan 2.0. And eventually there will be a tab on here that says redrawn boundaries, which will include an overview as well as maps and sort of indices that has a list of neighborhoods and communities and where those neighborhoods and communities will be attending school. So that is the latest on redistricting, and that concludes my comments this evening. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. And congratulations to our HR staff. I think the key word there is voluntary. And they spent a lot of time on their own to get that certification so that they can serve our individuals, our employees, that much better. So thank you again. Next, we have association communication. Ms. Hollander.
Good evening. As we are recognizing our veterans, I reached out to one of our educators who's also a veteran to find out how his service to our country has impacted his role as a teacher in Huron Valley. Robert Vosk was a Navy nuclear engineer from 1987 to 1993. In addition to defending our country, those years in the Navy helped to develop a belief system that he brings into his Milford High School science classroom to positively benefit our students. Rob shared with me a few key pieces from his Navy time that helped him prepare for being a teacher and the impact that it has on his students. First, he learned that it's always important to understand that facts alone are not useful without understanding those underlying principles of those facts. Next, when working with a new recruit, he learned you needed to remember that everything does not always come easy to everyone. You both need to put in good effort, and all successes, no matter how small, should be supported and reinforced. Rob brings this belief into the classroom as he always tries to praise his students when they show improvement, whether it is effort, resilience, or content mastery. Moreover, he realized that it's important to have a valid assessment of skills so that learners can assess their strengths and weaknesses and can better focus on efforts for improvement. Rob always gives students a true assessment of where their skills stand, what are some areas that need attention, and ways to approach growth in those specific areas. Overall, Rob was talking about that his time in the Navy shaped how he built relationships with students. He treats his students with respect in hopes that modeling that behavior becomes the standard within his classroom. He reminds his students that even though sometimes things are difficult, he cares about their successes and is willing to help when and if needed. And equally in his classroom, his students learn that doing the right thing in face of pressure to the contrary is always the right thing. So I want to thank Rob and all of our veterans for not only your service to our country, but your service to our students, families, and our Huron Valley community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have board correspondence. Ms. Pastana?
No correspondence this evening.
All right. Ms. Grzynkowski, Treasurer's Report. Do we have anything to report out?
Not this evening.
Okay. Next, we'll go to reports from board committee. I'll start off with the executive committee. Committee meeting minutes from November 12th. The meeting was held at 1 o'clock at the administrative office. The meeting was called to order. Present were myself, along with members Dodd and Pastana, Superintendent Salah, along with John Tavernier, Jeffrey Van Gothen, and Heather Cadell. No one was absent. Public comments, there were none. We discussed the board agenda that we have in front of us today. School Safety and Security Committee discussed the OK to Say program and the process followed for distributing incoming reports throughout the district. We noted that there has been an increased use of OK to Say earlier this school year, and it has somewhat tapered off since then. Dr. Salah also shared a review of recon management procedures that continue to be followed throughout the district as it pertains to school safety and security. 39.1 Board Policy Update. Dr. Salah presented updates to Board Policy 3120.08, 5340, and 8321 that have been recommended by our policymaker, Neola, for our committee to review. Mid-year superintendent's evaluation. Dr. Salah shared that he will provide an update of his mid-year evaluation in closed session on December 16th, where he will review progress made towards his established goals that were approved by the board earlier in the year. Board procedures, Laura Dodd shared updates on recent revisions to the board procedures. The final draft will be presented for review and discussed by all board members at the meeting tonight, later on. Also, Dr. Salah provided a summary of the district elementary class sizes as of October 31, 2024. We also had a discussion regarding cell phone policies. I brought up and shared some insights from a recent presentation that I was able to attend regarding student cell phone use in other districts throughout the state of Michigan. The committee reviewed the current board policy within Huron Valley on this topic with plans for future discussion. There is also a natural shift occurring towards managing cell phone use amongst students, and the committee expressed interest in continuing this conversation. The board as a whole will review the current policy and consider any potential updates. Board member orientation binder. I shared with the committee an updated board member orientation and welcome guide. That was one of the goals that was established by our Board of Education. This is a comprehensive resource designed to equip newly elected board members with essential information and guidelines to support a smooth transition into their roles. Other items that were discussed or brought forth, John Tavernier provided an update to our committee on the current progress of the district's redistricting process, including plans for releasing information to staff and families in December. Mr. Van Gothen also walked the committee through the process of selecting our bond service providers for the construction management, architectural, and engineering services related to the 2024 bond. The information will be presented at the November 13th Finance and Operations meeting, which occurred and will be brought forth as a recommendation at tonight's board meeting. Ms. Pastana also shared her desire to meet and discuss ways to enhance the use of the District Parent Council, DPC, recognizing its potential to be even more impactful. The meeting was adjourned at 3:20 p.m., and our next meeting, I believe, will be next Tuesday at 9:30. So with that, we'll move it on to TLT Committee.
TLT met October 22nd. The meeting was called to order at 4:03. Present were myself, Ms. Cotter, Mr. Dimmick, Mr. Tavernier, Dr. Salah, Mr. Lindberg, Ms. Bjorkman, Dr. Nemeth, Mr. Endicott, and Ms. Thompson. There were no absences. There was no public comment. Unfinished business. We talked about innovative programming at the middle school. Mr. Lindbergh provided an update on the middle school core and elective program review committee work. The initial team of teacher leaders and administrators have begun a global review of current programming and goals set forth in the strategic plan to expand options for students, specifically in the 6 Michigan career pathways or zones. The past practice of teaming at the middle school and a review of the opportunities and challenges it presents was also discussed. It was recommended the emphasis on small learning communities, particularly at 6th grade, be a priority. There was no new business at that time. Standing agenda items. We talked about strategic plan updates. In addition to the innovative programming work previously mentioned, under Goal 4, social emotional support, Dr. Julie McDaniel is continuing to provide professional learning on a research-based trauma-informed practices with the district administration team. She's also continuing to work with educators at Milford High, Country Oaks, Lakewood, and Oxbow. And safety and security updates, Mr. Endicott shared that we had a very good completion rate on the initial cybersecurity training module shared this fall with all staff. Less than 150 users have yet to complete the training, and noted about half of those users have not logged in during the training window. So this includes staff members that generally do not use technology on a regular basis, such as our transportation staff. Approximately 90% of all cyber incidents are a result of an end user credentials being compromised, which is why this type of training and increased awareness is so important. The other 10% of incidents are a result of system-related breaches. Mr. Endicott shared other ongoing efforts within the department that are being conducted to ensure our systems are patched and secure from known system vulnerabilities. We had no updates about student leadership at that time. Under other, there was a discussion about selection of materials. Mr. Dimmick shared correspondence received from community member with a concern about 5 specific books purchased in 2019 for each elementary school related to gender nonconformity. Mr. Dimmick expressed that he shares these concerns and specifically questions the age appropriateness of these materials at the elementary level. He acknowledged Board Policy 9130, which provides a process for handling public complaints. However, he would like to understand the process the district utilizes in the review of and selection of instructional materials. Ms. Cotter understands the concern and recognized the benefit of a multitude of differing texts in libraries. Myself, I was unsure how to define a clear line on the controversial topics, as there are clearly differing opinions within our community. It was requested that a review of related policy, administrative guidelines, and current procedures be added to to a future TLT committee agenda for further discussion. At the end, there was a public comment from Ms. Jessica Mathiak. She addressed the committee in support of the review of the process for selection of instructional materials. We adjourned at 5:17, and our next meeting is tomorrow at 4 o'clock.
Thank you very much. Finance and Operations, Ms. Gersinkowski.
Finance and Operations met on Wednesday, November 13th at 8 o'clock at the admin building. Present were myself, Ms. Ryan, Mr. Wiseman, Dr. Salah, Mr. Van Gotham, Mr. Tavernier, Mr. Reeby, Ms. Kerrigan, and Ms. Maruskin. There was no public comment. We reviewed the minutes from the previous meeting, 10/16, and they are included in board notes of 11/15. With regard to our consent agenda items, we have one, the approval of the HVSSP wage scale. Mr. Van Gotham shared with the committee that the district has completed negotiations with our Huron Valley, support, I don't remember this acronym. Support Service Personnel Group, which includes our bus drivers and attendants. The group has ratified the contract changes, including an attendance incentive, an additional holiday, and some contract language updates. With the transportation industry in dire need of additional professionals, we are appreciative to come to terms with our HVSSP group through the remainder of the fiscal year. Administration is recommending that the board approve the attached highlights of the contract that will run through June 30th of 2025 fiscal year and will be effective retro pay from September 1st, 2024. Any increases will be paid through the transportation categorical and the general fund. Unfinished business this evening, we have our construction management services and our architectural and engineering services for the 2024 bond. This evening for construction management services, we are recommending Clark Construction, and for architectural and engineering services, TMP. There was no new business. Safety and security updates. We did talk a bit about okay to say calls and the fact that they have decreased. However, the process continues to be in place and with each and every call that we receive. In addition, we talked about administrative guidelines and policy updates. The committee will continue to review the Finance and Operations Administrative Guideline policy updates. We discussed the Middle School Steering Committee update. Mr. Van Gotham asked the committee to save the date November 19th for the Middle School Steering Committee to move forward with design work and standard setting. Mr. Trevernier spoke to us about redistricting, and he provided the committee with the current progress of the district's redistricting process, including plans for releasing information to staff and families in December. Future discussion items. MAC Service Corps, our co-op partner, will be attending the December 11th Finance and Operations meeting. Hungerford Nichols will be presenting our audit at the November 26th Finance and Operations Committee meeting, and we're happy to report we were considered a low-risk auditee, and there are no significant findings in our audit, so kudos to our business office staff. Our meeting adjourned at 9:52 a.m. Our next meeting is next Tuesday, which is a different day than we normally meet, at 8 a.m. I hope to see you there.
Thank you very much. I believe the date for our planning committee was not the 19th. What date was that, Jeffrey?
December 9th. So if it was wrong in the note.
I might have said wrong.
Yeah, December 9th is going to be our middle school steering committee meeting.
Okay,
Yep.
December 9th. Okay.
Sorry, it was my fault. I
No.
saw 9 and said 19th. Sorry.
Okay, that's all right. I just don't want to miss the 9th and show up on the 19th and nobody's there. All right, next we have our committee notes, potentially, of communications, marketing, and legislative.
We have not met since our last meeting. Our meeting is tomorrow, 2:30 at the administration building.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have public comments. This is a time that we allocate for public comments as it relates to action items. There are no public comments as it relates to action items, so what I will do is I do have 4 citizens participation forms on non-action items. I did go over earlier tonight the process and procedures and expectations, and we'll start off with Sarah, followed by Vicky. So, Sarah Moore.
Good evening. I'm here at Sarah Moore. I live in Huron Valley Schools in Milford. I wanted to congratulate Mrs. Dodd and Ms. Cotter on the recent election. I commend you on running a very, very nice nonpartisan campaign. It was great to see just signs all over the community and people talking about who they wanted to vote for. And the schools are a very, very important part of our community. And with all the upcoming strategic planning, building a new school, all the work that's involved in that, it's nice to know we have great people at the helm. So thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, next we have Vicky, and then followed by Erica.
I received this letter that told me how to act in the schools. I've been a volunteer for 26 years now. I've never received this until this year. There's three highlighted areas. Serve as a role model, and as a volunteer, set an example to the students. I didn't see the staff at Spring Mills doing that very good. And to us, as parents. Treat the staff with respect. I didn't get respect in that school, but I'm supposed to. Maintain confidentiality. The principal of the school told many parents, talked about me to other parents and to staff, that I viciously attacked Mrs. Mattingly. Didn't happen. So you want the volunteers to higher standards than your staff members. Another one, here's one that says, report all suspected child abuse to the administrator. That's what my daughter did. 15 months later, something was finally done. 15 months later. So again, it even says here, it's a misdemeanor. Why? I'm still wondering why they're not being brought up on misdemeanor charges. I'm still fighting for it. You want the volunteers to higher standards than your own staff. I don't understand it. Also, 2 board meetings ago, Dr. Salah walked up to me to shake my hand. And when I pulled away, he goes, "Oh, you don't shake hands?" I definitely shake hands. I'm actually I run a nonprofit. I shake hands all the time. I don't shake hands with people I do not respect and I do not like. And I do not respect you and I do not like you.
All right, let's stay with the topic. Thank you.
That is the topic.
All right. Erica, followed by Richard.
Hi, how are you all tonight? I know you're saying there's hundreds and hundreds of hours spent on redistricting the school. How many hours has all the teachers had on witnessing sexual assault of minors? How many training facilities have you guys sent your teachers to? Because apparently nobody's seen it. I'm here today for a number of reasons. One is to let the Huron Valley District know that even though it was stated in the past the Spring Mills incident would blow over, it hasn't. Many parents will continue to remind everyone of the mistakes that this district made throughout this whole process. Every time something bad happens within our schools, we get a mass letter of how the safety of the students are your #1 priority. Yet we all question when when will you be proactive and not reactive? When will you all act before something nasty happens? It has been my experience that the schools wait for a problem to arise, not having any kind of plan in action to prevent any incidents. Why was it that the school waited 15 months to address the problem that was at hand and did not address it when the first complaint was made? Why did some parents not get informed of it when they called to address it? They were told that it could not be discussed with them before anyone states it didn't happen, it happened to me. Asked Ms. Mattingly, who is now a counselor at 2 of your schools for disabled people that could speak, were touched by a teacher. Now she works for 2 schools and with disabled children. That's disgusting. When did the board get informed of the incident? I would like to know when you all knew. Why did the parents get told by the principal over the phone at 7:30 p.m. that she was to call and inform us by the superintendent? After my daughter's father called the board about it, why has none of the parents been contacted by the board president or the superintendent even after the phone call stating the Title IX was not being done properly? Before anybody states it didn't, I did not get my 10 days notice. I was told to go in during work less than 24 hours later. One parent being told that the child does not have to be there for the interview, yet the other parent being told to bring the child to be interviewed. After the first parent questioned the Title IX coordinator, what training does the coordinator have to interview 7, 8, 9, and 10-year-old girls on sexual assault? I'd like to get your credentials, ma'am. If the school did not follow the policies of the previous Title IX, how do you expect to follow the new policy? How can you keep my daughter safe in any way, shape, or form when you could not keep over a dozen children safe in a classroom, one of which was my daughter? Her nightmare continues. She testified against her monster. When are you going to protect her against them? Where were all of you? Her nightmare continues.
Richard?
Thank you. My name's Richard, Huron Valley School District parent. I read ahead a little bit. I was going to talk about some of the agendas. Well, taking where she left off, how can we trust parents with the new policies and that they'll be followed? You know, some policy numbers I like to mention, and I encourage parents to look them up. 8462 pertains to the case that Vicky had made. 8321 pertains to the background check that was supposedly done. Here's this one's probably my favorite. 1241, non-reemployment of the superintendent. The board has an obligation to the citizens of this district to employ professional leadership, best trained and equipped to meet the educational needs of our children. So my question is to you. There's been no accountability for the hiring of this sexual predator in our school district. And I feel that the board members need to act in the best interest of our children's safety. So I'm here to ask that the board remove Sala. He allowed this monster to teach our kids. He did not follow policy, and there needs to be disciplinary action taken against him. If the services of the superintendent were found to be unsatisfactory to the board, he or she shall be notified by the president and given an opportunity to correct the conditions. There will never be an opportunity to correct what has happened to these children because of his recklessness. He cannot console the parents who cried in a courtroom as a judge ruled burden of proof was met to begin trial against Tim Doherty. Someone needs to step up here. Someone needs to be held accountable.
All right, next is the consent agenda, exhibits A1 through A4. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make a.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to how about to approve the consent agenda items A through D as presented.
I will support that.
All right, motion made by Member Grzymkowski, seconded by Member Pistana. Any questions, comments? I appreciate, Amy, during your finance and operations report that you went through the information that was provided to us as a board as it relates to our HVSSP group and the work that was done. So once again, we're very fortunate to have that group of people providing services to our students, and I appreciate your detail as it related to that. So I have a motion. I have a second. If there are any other questions, comments? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Yes. Ms. Grzymkowski?
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Cotter?
Yes.
Ms. Dodd?
Yes.
Ms. Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Dimick?
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have unfinished business, Board Policy 1540, Exhibit B. Dr. Salam.
Thank you, Mr. President. So this was this policy, Board Policy 1540, was presented at our last board meeting. I have not had any questions since that last board meeting. For our listening audience, that board policy is administrative staff reductions recalls, and it deals with some changes in the law that actually took place last school year, and specifically references section 1249 of the revised school code. And I believe Mr. Dimick actually asked me about that during the meeting. So I have not had any further questions, and that said, I am asking for the board to approve Board Policy 1540 as presented.
Okay. I'll ask for a motion in a second, and then I'll open it up to any questions. Do I have a motion?
I move that the Board of Education approve what you just said as presented.
All right.
1540.
Do I have a second? And second. So a motion was made by member Dimick and seconded by member Cotter. Open it up to any questions, any clarifications? Seeing none, could I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Dimick.
I am a yes.
Miss Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Miss Dodd.
Yes.
Miss Ryan.
Yes.
Miss Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, we have Exhibit C, Construction Management Services for 2024 bond. What I'll do is turn this over to Dr. Salah. I know he has or Mr. Van Gothen has a short presentation again for us. And then at that point in time, I'll ask for a motion in a second, and then we'll open it up for discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am going to invite Mr. Van Goghem to speak to the process that we followed for both B and C agenda items under unfinished business regarding construction management services as well as architecture and engineering services. So go ahead, Mr. Van Goghem.
So to be clear, we have two different items that the board is taking action on tonight, but I'm going to speak to process and include both of those groups for the essence of time. And so we publicly bid not only the construction manager, but also the architect and engineer along with the technology services. The board did take action on technology services at our last board meeting, but to speak about the bid was out for the standard period of time that the board has elected to do, which is a month. And then from there, we evaluated 2 construction management firms and 9 architects and engineering firms. And so we went through our contractor evaluation matrix for all of those entities, taking a look at pricing, references, project management experience, project approach and understanding, professional qualifications, and personnel qualifications, awarded them an initial score, and then after that process also did some follow-up with vendors on clarification if the proposal wasn't exactly clear, and making sure we understood what each of those bids contained. From there, came up with the desire to interview both of the CMs and 2 of the architects and engineers. And so we had a committee of 8 people, which included administration, Dr. Salah, Mr. Tavernier, myself, Mr. Reby, our Director of Capital Projects, Mr. Roberts, our Director of Operations, Ms. Tchaikovsky, our White Lake Middle School Principal, Belinda Talent, our Transportation Supervisor, and then my assistant, Ms. Moruskin, was also present. And so we were able to hear presentations from those 4, and then had some standard questions that we asked of them, and then gave them time to ask questions of us. We met as a group once we had all those interviews taken care of, and the consensus was for Clark Construction and TMP Architecture to be brought to the board as our recommendations for the 2024 bond service providers. And so that was basically the process. And then we did get some questions from the board, which I appreciated, and responded to those questions. We did post those on board notes, and then had really good dialogue at both the executive committee as well as finance and operations committee, with again some clarifications and follow-up regarding both of those service providers. And here we sit before you. We did bring this again initially in August, I believe, and so we're coming back to the board now, asking under unfinished business to approve both of these entities.
Right. Anything else, Dr. Salah?
I don't have anything further. Thank you.
Okay. As I said before, what I'll do is ask for a motion and a second, and then I'll open up for any discussion before we have a vote. So do I have a motion to accept, and these are 2 items. The first one would be construction management services for the 2024 bond.
I'll make a motion that the Board of Education approve the construction management services for Clark Construction for the 2024 bond as presented.
All right, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion made by member Grzymkowski, Treasurer Grzymkowski, and seconded by member Ryan. I'll open it up now for discussion, comments. Yes, Michelle?
Not sure if the community knows my background, but I've worked almost 25 years for a large commercial construction company as an estimator, so this is like my wheelhouse. So poor Jeffrey, thank you. No, I do want to thank Jeffrey and the team. I asked a lot of questions. He provided me with all the proposals. I kind of did what I do on my end from my job, and it's a lot of work, and they did a great job. So I just want to thank you for that. It was very well put together.
Any other comments? Yes, Amy.
And on behalf of the board and the Finance and Operations Committee, I want to thank you, Ms. Ryan, because the questions that you ask, obviously, this is your wheelhouse. This is what you know. This is what you do every day. These are outside of my wheelhouse. So the questions that you were able to ask and the information that you were able to pull out of those, not only, I mean, she made her own spreadsheet, people. This woman knows what she's doing, and I just really appreciate what you bring to the Finance and Operations Committee. So thank you for your work as well as our Finance Office.
Any other comments? Yes. Lindsay.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I likewise want to thank Michelle for her due diligence regarding this, because I also want our community to understand that our board, everyone brings a certain talent to this board, and we rely on each other. And I wanted to say that because I really appreciate the fact that Michelle brought that to the table. So thank you.
Any other comments? I too, as a member of the finance, want to express my appreciation for the work that you did. I also want to express my appreciation to Jeffrey and his team. I know a few months ago we asked and you delivered a process as it related to picking who our new construction manager would be, who our professional would be as it relates to technology, and what potentially might be our architect. We've just finished 2019. We're not finished. We're still working through it. And I think it's important for us to have gone through this process because really it did vet and did provide the framework as it related to the work that we're doing. And I think it really reflects our responsibility, our fiduciary responsibility to our community that we did go through that process. I want to make it perfectly clear that we were not unhappy with the professional services that were provided under the 2019 bond issue, and the process that we followed really attracted a number of very highly qualified companies that really reflects what a good place it is for companies to work for Huron Valley Schools. And we have a track record now. And with that process, not only did we attract, but it really proved that the companies that we had in 2019 and delivered in 2019 were the companies that we continue to want to have that relationship with for our 2024 bond issue. And sometimes, as we all know, when you're an internal candidate, it's somewhat difficult because all the warts are found, and we've had experiences. But from a personal standpoint and from a professional standpoint, I know within our Finance and Operations Committee, you've attended a lot of our meetings and brought us up to speed in the work that you provided and professionalism that you provided under the 2019 bond issue made the 2024 bond issue that much less challenging to be successful. So I appreciate that. Any other comments? Yes, Michelle?
Just to make it clear that the company I work for did not bid on this bond issue. So I can vote and it's all good, just so that, they did not.
Yes,
bid
there
on
is
this
no
project.
conflict. Absolutely. So with that, if there are no other comments, we're going to vote on the construction management for the 2024 bond issue. And we had a motion by Treasurer Grzymkowski, and it was seconded by Member Ryan a few minutes ago. So I'm bringing that up to Ms. Pastana.
Got it.
All right.
Ready?
Yep, ready.
Ms. Grzymkowski.
Yes.
Ms. Ryan.
Yes.
Ms. Cotter.
Yes.
I am a yes. Ms. Dodd.
Yes.
Mr. Demick.
Yes.
And Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next, architectural engineering for the 2024 bond issue. Do I have a motion?
Yep, I'll move that the Board of Education approve architectural and engineering services for the 2024 bond as presented.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Well, we've got it reversed this time. So we'll have to take the motion was made by member Ryan and seconded by Treasurer Grzymkowski. We've already had the presentation. Is there any questions or comments as it relates to that? Seeing none, I think the comments that we made before as it related to construction carries over to our architect and engineering. So with that, we have a motion, we have a second. Could we have a roll call, please?
Miss Ryan,
Yes.
Miss Grzymkowski,
Yes.
Miss Dodd,
Yes.
Miss Cotter,
Yes.
Mr. Demick.
Yes.
I am a yes. Mr. Wiseman.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Congratulations. We look forward to the next several years. I hope you look forward to it too. So next we have new business. The first item is board procedures. Before I turn it over to Vice President Dodd to go into greater detail, our Board of Education establishes, not only oversees goals that are established by the superintendent who then passes it down, but we also establish goals as a board. And a couple things that we did this year and we presented to the public and we voted on it were our Board of Education governance standards. And one of them was the Board of Education governance standards as a board, and then the individual school board member governance standards. And every one of us have this in front of us that we look at and we have displayed so that we remember what those standards are, and I believe they're also publicly displayed too. On the reverse side is our Huron Valley Schools 2023-2028 strategic plan, which was also one of our board goals as we went through this. So we have this, and it's always in front of us. Heather makes sure that we have this at every one of our board meetings so that it's a reminder. In addition to that, one of the things that we wanted to do as a board was put together a document that really was a Board of Education member orientation and really was about procedures. And it's not only for new board members, but it really, quite frankly, is a handbook for all 7 of us as it relates to certain things. And we have one copy of that, but we certainly can make multiple copies for each of the board members. And it will be in Ms. Cadell's office. But if you want your own copy, just let her know as it relates to that. It was a process that we followed. Geez, when did we start, Denise and Laura? It seems like, yeah, it wasn't 100 years ago, but it was a long time ago because it was a lot of dialogue, a lot of conversations, and we worked under the direction of the rest of the board. So what we have in front of us and what Laura will present tonight is that document. And I know she provided that information to us several weeks ago, but this is the first reading as it relates to this document, and then the intent is at our next board meeting for the board to vote on this so that it becomes part of our process. And over the next 2 weeks, you'll have an opportunity to review it again and ask any questions. I know there were some questions, so I'm going to turn it over to Laura right now.
All right. Thank you very much, and thanks to the board for the collaborative work to put this together. We certainly, as a school board, and I remember my days as a new board member, there's a lot to learn and figure out how you do things. And so our goal with creating this, and it was nice to have 3 newer board members participate with this, to help us create a guide for everybody to figure out, not our policies. Our policies are pretty clear and they're easy to find. There's a lot of them. But what this does is outlines some of the procedures we do that aren't written down anywhere, but are just part of the everyday average things that we do as a board to make ourselves work. So we had a board study session in February last year, and at that study session, our facilitator named Scott Morrell from the Michigan Association of School Boards really walked us through the benefits of having a procedures document and the benefits of going through that together as a group and building that in perpetuity then for boards as boards continue to grow and develop. So he gave us a set of maybe 20 different questions to answer, 20 topics to include. And then we went through the process of what we thought was really fast, responding to them. And we sent him our first draft, and he said, oh, no. You need to go into a lot more detail. So we now have a 14-page document which will continue to live and evolve and change. Actually, just in the shower this morning, I thought, oh, that needs to go in the board procedures document. Hopefully I'll remember it in a day or two. But this is a document that, just like our board governance standards, we will review every year. We can make additions and changes to it every year. But the team that sits at this table, as well as the people we work directly with, the central office administrative team and the executive assistant to the superintendent, all really need to agree that, yes, these are still our procedures and this is still what we want to keep doing. So we drafted a lot. We sent it out to the board. The board was able to contribute, to add, to ask questions, to change, to point out typos and other problems in the document, and really develop this into about a 14-page doc that we now will continue to develop. What else do I want to say? I think I went over most of my notes. I want to tell you a little bit about what's inside, because just saying board procedures doesn't necessarily help. So our first section is called team operations. And in the team operations, we talk about how do we communicate? Where is our shared drive? How, do we get email addresses? When we have questions on agendas, who do we ask and how? We talk about how meeting dates are suggested, how we pick the locations. When we have conflicts with that, what do we do? We talk about team development. We also talk about governance and oversight tasks. So things like evaluations and some of the other things. We talk about planning. We talk about policy, and we talk about personnel, and specifically what's our role in that. We manage and oversee one staff member. But then a lot of times we hear about a lot more. So what's our role when we hear those things? What do we do? How do we handle it? So we tried as best we could to boil that down into a document that's usable and helpful. And over the next few weeks, I certainly invite my board colleagues to take another look, figure out what needs to be in there, any of the things that are in there that you still have questions on that maybe we haven't dug deep enough to give enough information about. We certainly want to make sure it's as usable and helpful as possible. So tonight we're just doing a read. Everybody has a copy of the document. We will adopt this, and then again in June or July when we have our organization meeting, we can adopt a revised version. I'm already ready to write a glossary because there's not one in there, and that's what should be. So I'm not going to do that in the next 2 weeks. I don't want to upset the apple cart too much, but don't worry, it'll be there in June. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions now or open to questions over the next few weeks.
One thing that I do want to point out is what was not included in your board pack was a document that Heather provided to each of us that will be attached to what will be in front of us. And what it is a parliamentary procedures at a glance. It's really a document that we found that really takes a book of parliamentary procedures that are this thick and really brought it down to one page. And I found it very helpful for myself to utilize. So that will also be part of the procedures. We have 2 weeks to review this. I know that we've provided to the rest of the board information as it related to this before that. But does anybody have any questions or comments right now and what the process will be or what the process was that we followed? Amy.
I would just like to express my thanks. I remember when I was a new board member, one of the things everybody kept saying, AIM, coat. And I'm like, well, I know what a coat is, but you guys are talking about something that's completely different. Even just when do we table something? How do we amend a motion? All of these things are, if you've never been a part of a board like this, you're taking Robert's rules. How do we play well in the sandbox? It's all good stuff, and I appreciate the work that the executive committee has done. I think that it becomes a legacy piece, and I appreciate the fact that the next set of board members that ends up coming in will have a really great foundation to work from. So I just really appreciate your work. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, this will be presented 2 weeks from now, or I don't know if our next meeting is 2 weeks, but our next board meeting. So with that, next, Dr. Salah, AP Economics.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to turn this one over to Mr. Tavernier.
Thank you very much, and I am not going to steal any thunder this evening, but Mr. Lindberg and Ms. Miska are going to talk about AP Economics and some work that they've been doing on researching and recommending a new resource for us.
We will be quick tonight.
We'll be economical in our conversation.
So thank you for having us tonight. We're going to talk to you about our advanced placement economics resource that we're bringing to you tonight. In just a little bit, I'm bringing along Kathleen Miska with me. Kathleen is a teacher leader in TLT, but she's also a teacher right here in Lakeland. And I just said to her, hey, 12 hours ago, you were teaching first hour, and in 12 hours from now, you'll be teaching first hour again. So thank you to Kathleen for a long day today, and we appreciate her being out here tonight because she really does a lot of that work with the teachers and really digs into the resources. Before I turn it over to her, just a quick little update on what the timeline has been for our AP Economics work. So 2011-2012 school year, that's when we first offered AP Econ in this district, went through the curriculum process at that time and purchased Krugman's Economics for AP first edition. Since then, it was many years ago at this point, there's been several updates from College Board, which oversees advanced placement classes for the micro and macroeconomics courses, which our AP Econ makes up. Last year, they introduced the fourth edition of this resource that, again, takes into account a lot of the from a lot of the updates from the fall of 2022. And so the exciting thing for this year is we are offering AP Econ at both buildings for the first time in several years, and we have two teachers that work really closely together, and as well as with Mrs. Miska to really make sure that Huron Valley Schools is getting the same experience in both our econ classes, and that's where we think this resource will really be helpful for us. So I'll turn it over to Kathleen.
Sure, that'd be great, thank you. Thank you, Marty. So as Marty mentioned, the AP Econ course is actually two courses from College Board, a microeconomics focused course and a macroeconomics focused course. But we lump them under the AP Econ umbrella in Huron Valley, just like many other districts do. You can see the College Board's unit sequence in very tiny print, perhaps up on the screen, and you can see that the units, well, perhaps if you could see, you would see that the units proceed from kind of a more granular level, both at the micro and macro level, and get into government and federal policy by the end of each course sequence. Like many districts, as I mentioned, we teach them as 1 year. We have very few students who only opt into one semester of AP Econ. That's very rare for a student not to complete the full year sequence. And the College Board offers two paths for combining these two courses into one. One is a macro first model and one is a micro first model. And you can see by the red rectangle that we are a micro first district. The teachers report that they feel it's very helpful for students to start with things that are a little closer to home, looking inward at the way that economics touch our own daily lives before looking outward into broader policy. What's wonderful, of course, is that this single resource covers all of the information needed for both AP Econ courses, macro and micro. The textbook, written by Margaret Ray and David Anderson, does a great job both in its first edition that we are currently using and in its fourth edition, with updates from this 2022 update from College Board. There aren't many changes in this latest update, mostly surrounding ample reserve following the Great Recession in 2008 and the changes that the Fed has made in that particular area, as well as some changes to their graphing requirements on the AP exam. But the resource is wonderfully detailed. It's super helpful for bringing our new AP Econ teacher who has taught our standard economics course at Lakeland for a very long time, but hasn't taught AP Econ, into the fold with the veteran teacher from Milford. When we met earlier this summer and in this fall, we worked to realign this resource, our district curriculum, to this resource. You can see that the only slight downside about this particular textbook is the textbook is macro first and we are micro first. So students will flip to the middle part of the book to start the year and then work their way back to the beginning at semester. But otherwise, the units of the resource align precisely with the College Board content and support the course directly and explicitly, which is wonderful and helpful.
I should ask one more thing. Kathleen does teach AP literature, so the fact that she's an advanced placement teacher too really helps with that discussion with both those teachers as well. And so what we're asking you tonight is we are recommending the purchase of the 4th edition of the Krugman's Economics for AP course for our teachers in AP Econ. It is common that usually they recommend books to be replaced after 10 years in AP Econ classes, and we've had it now going on 13 years. So at this point, we'll take any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Yes, Jacob.
Is there I assume, a companion, like online piece that goes with the text?
There is for teachers. At this point, our instructors were not interested in the student login component, but teachers have access to all instructional materials, including assessment tools, through the online space.
Yes, Laura.
I think this is great. I have varying emotions about econ. Undergrad, not great. Grad school, pretty good. My question is, what's the demand? Are we seeing students pretty interested in this? Is this going to be an every year and every other year? You know, what does that look like?
The course has kind of rolled its way through. Sometimes it's been a challenge of finding the instructor that's just right for a very intense and rigorous course. Many of our social studies certified folks are lovers of history first, and the social sciences may be a little further down that line. And so bringing a new teacher in has at Lakeland been a great victory to make sure that we can offer this course as often as students request it.
Any other questions? As a CPA by trade, I had an opportunity to take a look at this book, and it goes into great amount of detail. And what I like about it is it really is relevant, and I think it's very important once again to have the right instructor for a class like this, because there's so much to be learned. Question I have is, this is a 4th edition, so we're not changing textbooks. It's just we're going to a newer edition. Is that correct? It's an updated.
Yes.
Okay, with some changes, obviously, since the 1st and 4th edition.
Yep.
And at the same time, I'm curious. This is going to be used by our AP students. What does because as a general ed student, I'm going to take economics. What kind of background do they get as opposed to the AP level?
So our general econ course is a semester-long course that covers both macro and microeconomics, and as well as the personal finance standards. It is only a semester-long course in contrast to a year, so it's obviously not as deep of a dive. We use for econ the TCI materials that were brought to the board a couple years ago for approval, so those all are also in their latest update as well. But students in our standard economics course can expect to get a shallower view of that thread that we see in the AP Econ book, but just not that level of depth.
So you had mentioned earlier that usually somebody that's taken AP economics, they take it for the full year, not a half year, where a general ed student might only take it for a half year. And is that a requirement? Is that?
Econ, a semester of econ is a grad requirement for Huron Valley, and part of our state social studies standards requirements.
Okay, great, thank you. Board, you're gonna have 2 weeks to kind of take a look at this. It will be brought back, my understanding, at our next board meeting. Similar to what we do with any type of adoption, if you have any questions or would like to take a deeper dive into the textbook, please get a hold of our team. And they'd be more than happy to provide you that textbook for you to read through, or meet with them, and they'll go over it with you. But it's pretty in depth, I'll tell you that. That's for sure. Okay. With that, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, what do we have on the agenda next? Good and welfare. Yes.
Public comments.
Public comments. There are no other public comments, I do not believe. With that, we'll go to good and welfare. Anybody have any good and welfare? Cotter. I would never call you just Cotter. Member Cotter.
Most people do. Yeah, welcome back, Cotter.
So true, you were just reelected. I never.
That's true.
Yeah. Should we come up with the themes that play that song?
It could be.
Or
yeah.
maybe the board could sing it to you.
No.
No? Okay.
I did want to take an opportunity, though, to thank the community for the results of the election. I'm very proud to be connected with Huron Valley, and I look forward to continuing my service. And I appreciate those people that came out and voted for me. I do look forward. Huron Valley is very important, and I want to continue to do what's best for kids. And I want to thank everyone for that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other good and welfare? I'm doing a double look. Just a couple things. Number one, I do want, as in my role as board president, to thank the two board members that are up here that were reelected, and I also, as Dr. Slaw mentioned, I really want to show my appreciation for the other two candidates. For anyone to run for a public office really shows that they have a passion, they have a desire, and I welcome our other two candidates to continue serving our district in whatever fashion that they feel is appropriate. So I welcome them, and I congratulate all four of you. The other piece that I do want to bring up is a number of us had an opportunity since the last board meeting to spend really a long weekend at our annual leadership conference. And I know I've had opportunities to talk to a few of you that attended, and also broke bread with a number of you that were in attendance. And I really think that us as a board attending these type of conferences are extraordinarily important, because not only does it give us an opportunity to talk to other board members, but it also gives us an opportunity to really hone our skills. And there's a number of areas that we had an opportunity to sit in, and what we did was really spend some time to make certain that we weren't overlapping our attendance in these classes, and that we were able to have a wide array of opportunities. For example, some of the things that were talked about was turning adversaries into advocates, assertiveness, leadership, public participation. There was a great one that I attended as related to school safety that really kind of talked about a framework for comprehensive school safety planning and development. And I will tell you, we follow that. And we do a very good job of that. And I think one of the things that needs to be brought forth is that there's never a subcommittee meeting that's held without safety and security being part of our agenda. So that is one of the focal points that we have. Another area that we talked about was really focusing on cell phone policies, improving student achievement and engagement. There's been a lot of conversations about cell phone and how it might block student achievement. And quite frankly, we've had conversations, and most recently we had a vibe meeting with our secondary leadership our teachers, who they've done some things organically to really address that. And I found it very beneficial as it related to not only taking that class, and I passed on information to Dr. Salau in a PowerPoint and various policies, but to also listen to our teachers. And I think one of the other ones that really drove home what we're all about is shaping the future of education, the critical role that school board members have in educational space design. And I think that's extraordinarily important as we undertake building our new middle schools and providing opportunities for kids within our mortar and brick. And to make certain that not only are we providing appropriate spaces for our students, but appropriate places for our teachers to teach those students. And I'm really excited about Bill with TMP and our other members of our professional team to really immerse ourselves into this, because we only get that one opportunity as it relates to designing and building a brand new middle school and really taking the other middle school, which is White Lake Middle School, and making that into a school that will provide the same opportunities across the district. So I just want to say thank you to the rest of the board for attending this conference. I know we have a number of other conferences or virtual conferences or in-person conferences down the road. So I invite all of you to continue participating in that. Dr. Salah, on Good and Welfare, do you have any